And we're going to go to page 31. Did you have a question, Christian? No? Okay. Page 31 in your grammar book. We'll start there. All right, page 31. We're talking about sentence openers today. Last year, if you were in my class, we had that as well. So you probably remember some of these, but I'm going to go through them again just to refresh your memory. We use these, by the way, when we're writing too, not only in our grammar book, but then when we start writing, eventually these are going to be on your checklist. And it's important to learn how to start a sentence differently every time. Because when you were little, you probably used words like, I like pizza, I like cheese, I like pepperoni, I like whatever pizza place you like. And I don't know if you remember saying that over and over again when you write. Or sometimes maybe when you were little, you said something like, I went to the beach and then we played in the sand and then we went in the water and then we had lunch and then I saw my friend and then, you say the same stuff over and over and over again. So this is going to break away from that. Okay. And this is going to help you start your sentences differently each time because that makes it way, way, way better to read, way more entertaining and just more enjoyable to read, if you start sentences differently. So, sentence openers are descriptive words or phrases and clauses that are added to the beginning of a sentence. Using different sentence openers makes writing more interesting, just like I said. In this book, you will learn 5 types of sentence openers, 5 ways to open or begin a sentence. After you mark a sentence, determine if the sentence begins with an opener that you know. If it does, mark it. Do not mark questions or quoted sentences. So the first one we're going to learn is the subject opener, and it says number 1 because it's going to be labeled number 1 as a subject opener. A subject opener is a sentence that begins with the subject of the sentence. Sometimes an article, remember those are a, an, or the, or an adjective will come before the subject, but the sentence is still a number 1 subject opener. This is how you're going to mark it. You're going to put a 1 with a circle around it. If it's a subject opener, you mark it with a number 1. Here's an example of a subject opener. Robin spotted a deer in the field. Robin is the subject. Spotted is the verb that goes with that subject. So Robin spotted. So since it's starting with a subject, it's pretty obvious that's the subject opener. The next example says the swift deer leaped into the forest. Even though the first word is that's an article, remember? Swift is an adjective, and then deer, that's the subject. Even though the subject is 3 words into the sentence, this is still called a subject opener, okay? So it's a number 1. The next opener we're going to talk about is the prepositional opener, and you're probably thinking, oh, that must be a preposition phrase or prepositional phrase, and you're right, it is. Starts with a prepositional phrase. And remember, phrases don't have verbs, okay? So the prepositional phrase does not have any verbs in it at all. It starts with a preposition and then it ends on a noun or a pronoun. And remember, the prepositions are listed at the back of this book. So if you get stuck and you're thinking, what is a preposition? I'm trying to remember. If you go to literally the very, 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 very last page, which happens to be 198, that is where you will find your list of prepositions. So if you ever get stuck on that, go back here. These are the prepositions. They always start with one of those. Okay. All right. Back to this page here, 31. Here are the examples. Along the road, Robin walked quickly. So along the road is a prepositional phrase. So this is a number 2 opener. Remember, number 1 is subject. Number 2 is prepositional phrase. The next example says, along the narrow and winding road, Robin walked quickly. And then the third one says, along the narrow and winding road toward Nottingham, Robin walked quickly. 3 different ways to start with a prepositional opener. I want you to notice, because there is a comma rule here, I'm going to explain that to you. If the prepositional opener has 5 or more words, you need a comma. If it's less than 5 words, you don't need a comma. So look at the first example, has just 3, along the road, 1, 2, 3, no comma. Look at the next one, along the narrow and winding road. That one has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 words, comma. So the rule is 5 or more, you need a comma, or if it's less than 5, then no comma. Okay, and look at the next example here. You actually have 2 prepositional phrases in a row. Along the narrow and winding road, that's one phrase, and then toward Nottingham, that's another phrase. So if you have 2 in a row, the comma goes after the second one. Okay, those are the comma rules. Less than 5, no comma. More than 5, comma. 2 in a row, comma. Okay, any questions about that? All right, let's turn the page. A little bit more on the back. Talking about adverbs, you guys know these as ly adverbs, and we already use those in our writing, so you're familiar with those. But sometimes adverbs don't have an ly, and they're still considered an adverb. So it modifies a verb, or another way to say that is it helps a verb. It tells more about the verb, or an adjective, or another adverb. An adverb tells how, when, where, why, and to what extent. That's what those words answer. That's how you can find it in the sentence. Ask yourself how, when, where, why, and to what extent. So this just says you learned about ly adverbs in week 5. However, adverbs do not There are many that do not end in ly. Some common examples include, here they are, very, together, never, and soon. Those are also adverbs that don't end in ly, so you got to watch out for those. Very, together, never, soon. All right, the first example shows an ly. That's the easiest one, and that's probably the most common one with an ly. Robin usually had his bow with him. So usually is the adverb, ly. Look at the next one. Robin always had his bow with him. That tells when. If you ask yourself, when did he have his bow with him? Always. Okay, that's an adverb. It tells when. So there's no ly on that one. That's an example for that. Next one. Robin did not have his bow with him. So words like yes or no or not or to, TOO, they function as adverbs. When you see them, label them as adverbs. So not is an adverb here. You're going to label it with ADV. And that's how you label it, ADV. Here's your last example. Robin was very confident as he carefully aimed at the deer. So very tells to what extent. How confident was he? He was very confident. So that's an adverb. It tells more about that word confident. And then here, aimed is your verb. How did he aim? He aimed carefully. And that's easy to spot because it has that ly. Any questions about adverbs? If not, shake your head no for me. Okay, I see that. Practice page. I know JC likes to read normally, but does anybody else feel like reading this sentence today? Christian's like, nope. Grayson, you're hiding. Do you feel like reading it? No? Grayson, do you want to read it? Yeah, he's like, no, okay. JC, do you feel like reading it?
In anger, the forester impulsively sprang to his feet, grabbed his bow, and shot an arrow at Robin.
Awesome. Thank you, JC. I appreciate you reading that. Impulsively, that is an adverb. I see the ly there. But do you guys know what impulsive means? Who can tell me what does it mean to do something impulsively? Impulsive. It means like a reaction, like an immediate reaction, almost like it's automatic. Like if somebody's throwing a ball and you see it coming toward your head, you're going to move your head out of the way, right? It's like impulsive. You just don't want to get hit in the face with the ball, so you move out of the way. So it just means to do it quickly and automatically. Okay, check that. And then we've got some articles, just two. Go ahead and find those and mark those by yourself. All right, we got 6 nouns, Christian. Where are the 6 nouns at?
Anger, forester, feet, bow, arrow, robin.
Whoa, that was fast. Good. That was exactly right. Anger, forester, feet, bow, arrow, robin. There are 2 adjectives in here, Grayson, and usually they come right before the noun. So do you see? Not always, but usually, sometimes it does. So do you see 2 adjectives?
His,
Yes, good. His feet. What else?
the other his,
Good. Yes, the other his. Those are both telling whose, right? So that is the adjective. Good job, Grayson. Adverb, Bryce, where's the adverb?
Impulsively.
Good. ADV, that one's easy because you got the ly there. And then back to JC, what about the coordinating conjunction?
And
Good. Remember, that's fanboys here, if you guys ever forget that one. Fanboys. I'm going to skip prepositional phrases. For me, they're easier to spot when you finish the list. So I'm going to skip to verbs next. So let's see, I already did Bryce. JC, where are the verbs?
sprang,
Sprang, you did the coordinating conjunction, but that's okay. I'll have you do the verbs anyway. Sprang, what else?
grabbed,
Good. Grabbed.
shot,
Shot. Very good. And Christian, what about the subject?
forester,
Good. That's the only subject. That was easy. All right, I'm gonna have Christian tell us what the actually, what are the prepositional phrases, Christian?
in anger, to his feet, at robin.
Good. And if you notice, the words in and to and at, they don't have a label. Everything else has a label on it. So that's why sometimes if you leave that till the last thing, it's easy to find.
And since I did the preposition, can I get the opener?
Okay, go for it. What's the opener?
In.
Yes, which is what kind of an opener?
Number 2, prepositional opener.
Very good. So we're going to label it like this, and number 2, and then you're going to write that word prepositional on top there. Very good. Thank you, Christian. Because in anger is a prepositional phrase, so it's a prepositional opener. All right, Grayson, what about the capitals? Where do they go?
In
Good.
and forester.
No, not Forrester. There is a name in here, though.
Robin.
Yes, there you go. We have a couple commas to fix, Bryce. Do we add commas or take them out? What do we need to do here?
In anger.
No, actually, because remember the rule there is if it's 5 or more, then you need a comma. So no comma because there's only 2 words in that prepositional phrase. So not there. But later I will tell you it lists 3 things he does. So we need commas between those 3 things he does.
Grabbed his bow.
So where does the
At the
comma go? Like what words does it go between?
at the end of bow.
At the end of bow, okay, that's one. And one more comma. You see it, Bryce? Where does the other comma go?
At the end of feet.
Good. So he sprang to his feet, comma, grabbed his bow, comma, and shot an arrow. So he did 3 things: sprang, grabbed, and shot. That's why we need commas there. Very good. End mark is just going to be a period. And we're done with that page. Awesome. Your homework is the next 3 pages for grammar then. Any questions before we close up our grammar book? No? Good. Okay. Now get out your binders. You guys were working on Odysseus and the Cyclops. That crazy story. So go ahead and get out everything from your front pocket here. Odysseus and the Cyclops. And we were working on a story sequence chart for that. I looked at yours. I saw, I think I saw most of yours on the Google Classroom, and you guys did pretty good with sticking to the rules. Remember, the rules are you can only have 3 words per number, and then you can use symbols and numbers and abbreviations for free. And we left off here in class last week, and you guys were supposed to fill in the rest of this. And I wanted you to know you did pretty good with it. I saw that you followed the rules. A couple of you, and I don't know if you've seen my notes yet because I made notes this morning on your homework. A couple of you didn't quite get to the end of the story here in this resolution box. Like you have all of the numbers filled in, but you didn't quite make it to the part of the story where they leave, right? They're in the ship and they're leaving, and then the Cyclops is hurling these giant boulders into the water, and it's pushing the boat away. And he yells something. He's like something about, "You're evil. There is no one more evil than you," something like that. He says, "To devour my men," whatever he says at the end. So if you didn't get to that part yet here, I want you to go ahead and add a 5 and maybe a 6 if you need to, okay? Because some of you stopped at where they put the pole in his eye and made him blind, but that's not the end of the story. You got to keep going until it gets to that part where they escape. Remember, they hold on to the bottom of the ram's wool, that part at the end here. Yeah, this part where the Cyclops is blind now, right? Because they put that pole in his eye, which was gross. But okay, so he's blind. That's when his Odysseus and his comrades grasped the underside of large rams and clung to them as they left the cave, evading detection by the Cyclops. So make sure you include that somewhere somewhere in your outline, how they got out. And then they made it to their ship. They hurried to their ship, and then they're yelling at each other from the ship and from the shore, right? Like he yells, "May the gods make you suffer worse than this." And Polyphemus heard him and threw a great rock into the water. So the ending is that he throws another rock and it barely misses the ship, but it propelled them. Do you guys know that word propelled? It's actually a science word. You might hear propeller in that word if you know anything about airplanes. That propeller is that part in the front of an old airplane that winds up really fast, different than a jet plane, but that propeller is what makes the plane go, right? That's what forces it to go through the air. So that word propelled means it pushes it. And I don't know if you've ever been in a swimming pool before. You guys ever gone swimming and maybe your uncle who's like a big guy, big dude, right? And he decides to do a cannonball. Have you guys ever been in the pool when a big person does a cannonball and it pushes you back, right? You're sitting there on your floaty, you're having a nice day, maybe you got your soda in your hand and you're like, "Man, it's so nice and peaceful." And then here comes Uncle Ron. He's like, "I know, I'm going to do a cannonball right here in the deep end." And then it's like, whoa, and it pushes you back, right? Has that ever happened to you guys before? No? Okay. I bet it will sometime in your life. So what happens is when it's like the rock that this Polyphemus guy creature throws into the water, it's like a giant cannonball. Somebody, you guys know what that is in the water, right? When you grab your legs and you just like sploosh and it just makes a giant splash in the water. It's kind of like that, and it makes a big wave and it pushes you away. That's what's happening at the end here, okay? So it pushed their boat away, which was good because they were trying to get out of there, right? They didn't want to be there anymore because he was eating their men. They were trying to get out of there. They didn't want to die. So make sure in your outline you include that somewhere at the end. So everybody check your outline really quick. Look at your own. Look at Roman numeral 3 on your outline here for your story sequence chart. And give me a thumbs up if you see it, that you did talk about the boulder, the rock that he throws in and it pushes the ship away. If you see that somewhere at the end, give me a thumbs up. If you don't, give me a thumbs down, and then I need you to fix it. Okay, I see a thumbs up. I see a thumbs down. Thumbs down, Grayson. Yeah. So go ahead and take a minute and add some numbers here to talk about that. Okay. How about you, Bryce? Do you have it on your Roman numeral 3?
No.
Okay. So add something like 5 here. You could add something like, this is where Odysseus shouted to the giant, "I am not no one. If anybody asks who put your eye out, tell them it was Odysseus." So they go back to their ship. Make sure you include that somewhere. I'm going to put Odysseus plus men. They go back to their ship. So if you don't have this included in the last part, go ahead and add this in. It's okay if you go a little bit longer. And then the Cyclops, I'm going to put C for Cyclops. It says hurled, great, stone. I'm going to add a 7. I might skip the part where they're yelling back and forth. But and the word propelled, I like that word. That's a good strong word, by the way. Propelled. I'm going to draw a little ship here and then put other shore. That's how this thing ends. So if you don't have something about that, and you don't have to copy it exactly, if you have a different way of putting that, you can change that. I'm going to zoom in so you can see that better. if you don't have this and you want to copy mine, I'm okay if you want to copy mine. If you have a different way of putting it, put it the way you want to put it. It's okay. It's not like a test question where there's only one right answer. You can have a different way to put it. But I just want to make sure you guys included this last part to wrap up the story. Go ahead and finish up that. Did you put it on there, Grayson? Thumbs up? Okay. All right, then if you're finishing up that, go ahead and finish up writing that. And then I need you to get out a new piece of lined paper because we're going to start writing this week. If you normally type your stories, that's okay. You can type it in later, but we're going to handwrite it during class together and work on it together. Actually, I know Christian knows how to do this. If you guys know how to pull up a Google Doc while you're in Zoom, I'm okay if you want to just go straight to that, Christian, if you want to just start typing it, okay? But if you guys don't know how to do that, let's write it on a lined piece of paper. Because your homework this week is going to be to start writing, actually to write this, the whole thing, 3 paragraphs. So I'm going to give you time during class to work on this so you have less to do for homework this week. So that lined paper, I'm going to go ahead and put your name and your date up here like we usually do. And like I said, if you normally type it and you know how to pull up Google Docs right now at the same time you're on Zoom, you can do that. So you can start typing. If not, you can just start writing it here and then type it later. It'll make it go a little faster. So name and date, and you're going to leave a blank here. So I'm going to skip a line and then I'm going to draw a line for a title. But remember, the title rule says 1 to 3 words from your final sentence. So I'm not going to pick a title yet because I don't know what my last sentence is going to say yet. So I have to wait on that. Okay, so just hold a spot for a title. And then this is where we're going to start writing. So you guys can work on this. Remember, you're going to look at Roman numeral 1. That's the first sentence. We have Odysseus, Greek, and hero. Does anybody want to volunteer to make that a sentence? How can we turn Odysseus, great hero, into a complete sentence? Anybody have any ideas on that? How about Bryce? Odysseus, Greek hero. How can we turn that into a complete sentence? Did you say it? I think you muted yourself again by
No,
accident. Oh, go
I
ahead.
didn't see.
So use the words Odysseus and Greek and hero. See if you can make a sentence out of that. Does that make sense, Bryce?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you thinking? I'm waiting for a sentence, Bryce. You got this.
Odysseus, a great Greek hero, was on his way home after a great battle.
Oh, nice. Okay, I like that. You added some more information, which is great. Good job. I did notice you used great twice, so maybe just take out that first great. Uh,
Great Greek.
great Greek hero after, and then you said great battle. I'm just trying to think of a way to say it without 2 greats in there. I'm going to start with Odysseus. I indented here, by the way. And by the way, also, you guys can copy this sentence or you can come up with your own. Okay. You don't have to have this sentence. We're just going to take turns coming up with sentences here. But as you said that, Bryce, I wanted you to know I really liked your sentence. And I also thought this would be a great spot to put a who clause. Odysseus, who was a great hero, great Greek hero. Is that how you said it, Bryce? The great Greek hero?
Yeah.
Okay. We could put it here. Who was a great Greek hero, comma. By the way, you're going to skip a line here because we're double spacing. And then I think you said came home from a great war. What could we use instead of great war?
A long battle.
A long battle, is that what you said?
Yeah, like came home after a long battle.
Okay. After a long battle. Odysseus, who was a great Greek hero, came home after a long battle. All right, good. I like it. Grayson, I'm going to have you do the next one. It says comrades, storm, I think is our storm cloud, island, and cyclopes. How can we make that into a complete sentence?
Odysseus and his comrade ran into a storm, and their ship was blown into the island of the Cyclops.
Okay. I don't know if we need to say Odysseus's name again because we already used it, but we could put his comrades. Skip lines here. His comrades. How did you say it with the storm?
Ran into.
Ran into a storm? And ended up on an island. Is that how you said it?
Yes.
And ended up on an island. I think you said it differently, but that's okay. However you said it. That had or with cyclopes. I guess we could say with cyclopes. All right. You guys get the idea. Write your own sentences. You can make this yours, okay? If you get stuck and you can't think of anything and you like what we put here, go ahead and copy it. Try to skip lines. I know you normally probably type this, but I'm going to give you some time to work on this. I'm going to have JC do a sentence and then Christian do a sentence, and then you guys can go ahead and work by yourself. So keep going with this. So JC, let's see, yours will be this one. Crude, one eye, giants, shepherds. That's a good sentence for that. Right here, crude, one eye, giants, shepherds. How can we make a sentence out of that?
They were crude, one-eyed giants who were shepherds. That's the best I could think of.
Okay, I like it. Crude, comma, one-eyed, that's going to be hyphenated, giants who were shepherds. By the way, you got another who clause in there, so you can underline just one of them, but you can have two. I like it. So far, we got Odysseus, who was a great Greek hero, came home after a long battle. His comrades ran into a storm and ended up on an island with Cyclopes. They were crude, one-eyed giants who were shepherds. That's pretty good. It's a pretty good start. Christian, how about this next one? Sea, Polyphemus, cave, sheep.
Polyphemus lives in a cave with his sheep, so okay. Polyphemus lives in a cave with his sheep. I don't know what to put after that.
Okay, I do like that so far, but we need to identify that Polyphemus is one of the Cyclopes, right?
Polyphemus, one of the Cyclopes?
Or start with one of the Cyclopes named Polyphemus, maybe. Do you like how that is?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay, let's do that. One of the Cyclopes, remember that's plural, so that works there. Named Polyphemus. And then you said lived in a cave with his sheep.
Yeah.
That's good. There. Polyphemus. Okay, so one of the Cyclopes named Polyphemus lived in a cave with his sheep. All right, you guys. So from here, I'm gonna let you work quietly by yourself. And I'll just be here if you have any questions for me, but I'm just gonna have you guys work through this, give you some time to get going on your homework. Okay. And you're going to keep going. So we basically almost finished that first paragraph. We have one more sentence here about fire. I think that was binoculars. He saw the Greeks in the corner. One more thing I want to mention though is when you use quotation marks, you want to make sure to do like right here where it says sea, pirates, O, soldiers, war. You want to say something like, the Cyclops asked, comma, quote, are you pirates? Okay, so if you're going to have speaking parts in there, you have to put a comma right before what they say. Okay, so you can say something like, the Cyclops asked, quote, comma, quote, are you pirates? And then Odysseus says, except for that's a banned word. Don't forget about that. Okay, say said is a banned word. So don't use say or said like I just did. You can say something like responded or replied or something like that. No, we are soldiers coming home from war. So don't forget there's a comma before what they say, and then you actually capitalize the beginning of the quote. We'll talk about that a little bit more, but I want to give you some time to work on your sentences right now. So go ahead and work on finishing that first paragraph. I'll give you about 5 minutes and then we'll talk some more. Let me know if you guys need any help, okay? If you get stuck on one. I do want you guys to have your cameras on though, please. Thank you. About 1 more minute. So finish up what you're working on. Finish up your sentence. Okay. So I want you to pause for a second. Just go ahead and finish up what you're working on, that sentence you're on. And I wanted to show you, I went ahead and added my sentences to my first paragraph here. I wanted to point out this part right here where the speaking part is, because I know I said this, but I want you to see it. Notice how I have the Cyclop shouted, or it's actually S, huh? It's Cyclops Hold on. But yeah, it is an S, Cyclops. Okay, so the Cyclops shouted, comma, quote, and then notice the A and R, the word R right here is capital. Are you pirates? And then notice the question mark on the inside of the quotation mark. I know you guys have seen this before, but I just want to make sure as you're writing this or typing this, you get the punctuation right, correct in here. So the Cyclops shouted, comma, are you pirates? Question mark, end quote. And then I have Odysseus replied, because remember, you don't want to say said. That's a banned word. So if you put said by accident, you need to put a line through it and write replied or responded, whatever word you want to put here, comma, quote, and then notice the capital again. It's like every time you have a speaking part, that first word is going to be capitalized. No, we are soldiers coming home from war, period, end quote. So pay attention to where those little marks are. Now, normally we put the attribution first when we have a quote, but sometimes it can go in the middle if you like that. You could say something like, no, Odysseus replied, we are soldiers coming home from war. You can put the attribution in the middle, but just make sure you have the comma in the right spot and the punctuation and everything for your quotes. Any questions about the quotes part when they're speaking? Do you guys have any questions about that? If not, shake your head no for me. Okay. And Grayson, if you could turn your camera on for me too. All right. Really quick, let's look at the checklist. I might have more time for you guys to work on it, but I just want to make sure to go through this with you before we do some more work on it. But this is all pretty much the same as it was for this last one, except we have strong verb on here. That's new. Okay. So look down the structure, name and date. That's always there. Left-hand corner, double spaced. By the way, if you use Google Docs, make sure you set it to double space before you even start typing. Some of you, I noticed, hit return 2 times at the end of your line. That's such a headache. That's going to be a problem if you have to fix anything. So make sure before you even start typing anything, like not even your name yet, set it to double space. Does anybody need me to show you how to set it to double space? You guys know how to do that? Okay, good. All right. And then your title centered and repeats 1 to 3 keywords from your final sentence. That's the last sentence of your third paragraph. That's why we left a blank. You can decide that when you get done writing all the way at the end. Use at least one of those words. Story follows story sequence chart. So basically, you're going to follow what we worked on last week right here. Follow the order of how you set this up. This one says each paragraph contains at least 4 sentences. It might have more than that, but that's fine. It has to have at least 4. Don't worry about that one. You can ignore that box. And then under style, this is where you've got your three dress ups. So each of these should be in each paragraph. So you should have one ly adverb in each paragraph, one who, which clause in each, and one strong verb in each. So, and the only other thing I wanted to point out here is your banned words, say, said, see, saw. Okay. So I do want to, I know we had a good who clause right at the very beginning. I'm just going to underline who here. That's a good one. But I don't have any ly adverbs in my paragraph yet. Can somebody look at what we have so far or what you have on yours? Did you find a good spot for an ly adverb? If you did, raise your hand and let me know, where did you put your ly adverb in your paragraph? If you don't have one yet, let's figure that out together. Okay, so it looks like nobody has one yet. So let's look for a verb. I see ran is a verb. We might want to change that. It's not a very strong verb. Lived. Let's look at lived. One of the Cyclopes, named Polyphemus, lived in a cave with his sheep. What's an ly word? Because this is a bizarre story, as you guys know. So what is an ly word that we could put in front of lived that would work here? Somethingly lived in a cave with his sheep. Christian, you got one?
I wasn't going to say for that one, but I have one of my own.
Oh, what did you get?
Polyphemus went. So Odysseus knew that if they killed the Cyclops, they would sadly die in the cave.
Okay. Oh, sadly die. Okay, that's a good spot. I don't have that part yet because I'm on the
Then
first part.
in front of there,
Okay.
Polyphemus.
I'm thinking for my paragraph, if you guys need one for your first paragraph, I'm going to put one here right in front of lived, and I'm going to put surprisingly, because it's weird that they lived with sheep in a cave. I don't know. Or you could put oddly, but I'm using surprisingly here. If you like that, go ahead and copy that. One of the Cyclos named Polyphemus, hello, surprisingly lived in a cave with his sheep. All right, so we got a who clause, we got ly, and now I need a strong verb. I'm thinking about changing this word came home. I don't know. Came is not a very strong verb. So Bryce, what's another way? How could we come up with a verb that kind of describes more of what they did? A strong verb here rather than came home. What do you think, Bryce?
Sailing.
Yeah, that's a good one. Or sailed past tense. I like that. Sailed. And then underline it. So it says Odysseus, who was a great Greek hero, sailed home after a long battle. Or you could put was sailing home after a long battle. That would work too. And that makes more sense that his comrades ran into, well, let's look at ran. Grayson, what can we put instead of ran into a storm?
Bumped into a storm.
Bumped into a storm, maybe. Um, hmm. Anybody? Oh, you have one, JC? What's your idea?
Returning.
Oh, instead of sailed here? Is that what you think? Yeah, that's a good one. Returning home. And then we could put sailed into a storm. That would work if we move those two around. What do you think, Christian?
I'm just gonna say, comrades. What? Wait, I knew it. It was right there. I can't remember it.
That's okay. What if we could put like journeyed into a storm? That might work. Journeyed. I kind of like sailed into a storm. I'm going to switch this. And by the way, it's okay if we move words around. That's part of learning how to get it right. I'm going to put sailed into a storm here. But instead of sailed here, I'm going to cross that out. And I kind of like returned or was returning, I think is how JC was suggesting. So now we have Odysseus, who was a great Greek hero, was returning home after a long battle because he didn't quite make it home yet, right? He was in the process of getting home. So that makes sense. His comrades sailed into a storm. Now that sounds better. See how just those little fixes really makes your writing sound better. So now we've got our ly, surprisingly, who, which, your who is here, and then we've got your strong verbs. So that paragraph meets all of the dress ups here. Make sure you don't use say, said, or see, saw. That's why here I put spotted the men in the corner instead of saw the men in the corner. So check that. Make sure you didn't put saw. All right, you guys. So your homework is basically to finish writing this. You've got 3 paragraphs total. Hopefully you got your first one done, and then you only have 2 left. But make sure you have your checklist with you when you guys write this story, because you want to make sure you got all your dress ups in there. 3 of these for each paragraph, and then watch out for your banned words. Do you guys have any homework for, do you have any homework? Do you have any questions about your homework? No questions? All right, well, we're just right on time, so you guys are free to go, and I'll see you next week. Have fun with this story. See you next week. Bye.